Hey. Hello and welcome to Find It, where we are live right now with Ori Spado. And hang on to your seats because we're going to show his intro and we will be right back with you. Hello, everyone, and to all of our amazing guests that are watching right now. I wanted to let you all know that this is a different type of Find It. I'm actually in Beverly Hills. I'm in the home of the Ori Spado, and we are doing this interview to bring right to you to tell his story and to talk about his book, The Accidental Gangster. So with that, let's get started and hear from the man himself. So glad you could be with us today, Ori. I'm so appreciative.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Yes, I love it. So the book that you have written, the reason you have written it is because you have a big story to tell. And I want you to let our listeners know what is currently happening right now with this book. It's being made into
a Hollywood movie, being directed by George Gallo. For those of you who don't know who he is, George Gallo wrote Midnight Run with De Niro and Grodin, 29th Street, Middlemen, countless of other movies, and with the award-winning producer Nick Vallanoga of Green Book. You all saw that with Viggo Mortensen, and it was the best picture of the year, and he won 2 Oscars for that, or 3, something like that. And I'm blessed with a great team. David Steenhoek is the writer, along with my son Anthony. They did a great job on a script, and it will be the most different gangster movie you ever see, because this movie is being told through the eyes of my son. For those who don't know, I had to fight hard to keep my children out of the life, and I accomplished that.
Aw, I love that. Well, with that being said, let's talk a little bit about what's in the book, which is a lot of your life. And when I read it, and when I was listening, I was reading it, and I've listened to you on other podcasts, but in the book, it talks about your upbringing in New York, and you talk a lot about your parents. And the fact that you didn't love school.
Not really.
You skipped a little bit.
I skipped school more than I went, but I still did good in grades.
Right. You were naturally intelligent. You just didn't prefer being in class.
Yeah, I didn't prefer it. My kindergarten class, I did.
You liked that?
Yeah, my kindergarten teacher, I had the hots for her.
Oh, it started young, folks.
Miss Garrison, yeah.
And you remember her name.
That's
amazing.
Truth.
That's amazing. But so I just find it you're when I talk to you, you're extremely intelligent and you have a lot of wisdom and you've been through a lot. And so when it says the accidental gangster, you became a gangster on accident. Explain to me how you got into, as you describe it, the life.
Well, in all honesty, there are no accidents in life. Okay. My life was my destiny, and it's the life that I was supposed to live that brought me to what I'm doing now. And, I began just going back in history. My grandfather came over here from Calabria as a made man. upstate New York.
Explain to us what a made man means.
A made man is a man who takes his oath and swears his allegiance to La Cosa Nostra.
Okay.
Okay? And you must remember, once you take that oath and you swear your allegiance to La Cosa Nostra, that's your family. That's your first family.
That's your first family.
Not your wife and children.
Right.
Okay? That's your secondary.
Okay, so in the book I read where you didn't actually realize that your grandfather was a made man until you were about ready to get married for the first time.
Yeah, it was the evening of my stag party. After everybody left, my father and I went to San Carlos restaurant. And then my father proceeded to tell me a lot of things because my grandmother and my grandfather passed away before I was born.
Okay.
So I never got to know them. I really would have from everything I hear of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did my investigation. After my father passed away, I got a lot of information from my aunts, my father's sister who was alive, and Frank Russo. Now, Frank Russo actually was a gentleman that was slowly grooming me for the life. Now, he was a lawyer, but his father was the boss in upstate New York. And on Saturday mornings, the boss had a meeting in the cellar. And only a few guys, those were the captains, that were allowed in the cellar. Frank Russo used to open the cellar doors and allow them in. My grandfather was there every week. And it was through Frank Russo that I met Frank Costello. I met Russell Buffalino. I met Carlo Marcello and countless others. Meyer Lansky I met on my own. And eventually, through Frank again, I met Sonny Franchese, the underboss of the Colombo crime family in New York. And he became my friend for over 50 years. Out here in Los Angeles, I was very close friends with the underboss of Los Angeles, Jimmy Cacci.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Cacci he and I were like brothers.
Mm-hmm. Where was he located?
Jimmy was the boss of Palm Springs.
Okay.
And the underboss of Los Angeles.
Gotcha.
And you can call him the Sonny Franchese of the West Coast. And very different. We were like brothers. We spoke a lot. He was originally from Buffalo. We spoke a lot. And
you spent a lot of time moving from New York to LA area and also Florida.
Yeah.
But after you got married to your first wife, her name it wasn't Rosemary. Antoinette. So can you explain a little bit about, you fell in love, you got married, but then some other things happened, like Rosemary happened. So can you give us some backstory on that? And then how you also, I don't think you intentionally went to become, the boss, the boss to Hollywood. It just, over time, it became your role. Is that right?
That became by accident, yes. Yeah. And the way that became about was through Frank Russo. Once again, I met Dino De Laurentiis and Ralph Serpi. Dino De Laurentiis was an independent film producer, King Kong, countless of movies. The guy was amazing. Okay. And Ralph Serpi was a producer along with him. And it all began where they were filming across 134th Street in New York, or across 110th Street, something like that there. And they went there. They had all the city permits, everything. I was with Anthony Quinn, Sidney Poitier. It was a great movie. And they were getting robbed every day. And they were being told they couldn't film there because they didn't have permission. Well, we got our city permits. Well, you didn't get permission from the streets.
Oh.
So you need permission from the streets back then in those days. So Ralph Serpy reached out to Lou Perry. Lou Perry was a friend of ours. He's the gentleman, if you study history, he discovered D. Martin and Jerry Lewis.
Oh, wow.
And he said, you got to talk to Frank Russo.
In order to get permission to
And
on
then
the streets.
Frank Russo had to go to Frank Costello.
Oh, okay.
And then overnight, no more robberies, no more problems. And it was all peace.
Wow.
And they filmed their movie. The next movie they did was The Brinks Job. And they filmed that in Boston. I was there. John Cassavetes, Peter Falk. I met the gentleman who actually performed The Brinks Job. Had dinner with him. It was a marvelous time. And Dino was going to invest in me in my insurance business. I needed $12 million. And we met with him right over here on Cannon Drive, his first office, one of his first offices he had out here. And I don't know, one thing led to another, and they were having a problem with an actor on the set, giving the director a hard time, causing the budget to increase. And they were at wit's end, and I said, I'll go handle that. And they got a little bit in their ass. Don't worry, no problem. And I went
So
over
the
there,
insurance guy at the time.
yeah.
Said, I'll go handle
everything
this.
that I've done, I got to be honest with you, come from my experience as a salesperson in the insurance business. Because look, in the insurance business, I was doing good for people.
Sure.
I know I was providing them retirement, health insurance, taking care of problems if problems arise. So it was no different than anything else. And I just took those same attributes that I had and applied them. And, you know, word got around Hollywood and I became the guy to call. And there were other guys like me, a couple of others. But, you know, and I handle them nicely, quietly, nobody knows, and I don't mention nobody's name. Now, in my book, I do mention one person's name. If you want to know who that person is, purchase my book.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right.
I know who the person is, but I'm not saying it. You got to give the book. It's really a page turner. But, you know, so wait a minute. Were you doing any of these like quiet, I'll take care of it in New York?
New York.
Okay, so before you even came out here into
well, you got to remember, I came out here in 1971.
Okay.
Okay.
But then you kind of went back and forth.
Then I went back.
Ooh.
And then,
it's a good thing we're not live.
Yeah.
I don't know where we're at.
right up until my arrest in 2008, I was maintaining a place in New York. I was going back and forth once a month.
And you also had a place at one time
In Florida.
In Florida as well. Yeah.
Several
So
places.
yeah, but so you know, I kind of want to talk a little bit about, well, for one, thank you for your service in the military.
Thank you.
You were stationed in Hawaii,
Yeah.
which is a lovely place. And it kind of struck me in the book because I mean, I know the premise of the boss to Hollywood and all of that, how it ends up being, but you kind of had a little bit of a brush with kind of getting into the life when you're in Hollywood because you thought you could make a deal with the guy to also make money
In Hawaii.
When you were stationed there in the military, you saw this club. We'll just say it's a club. Do you know what kind of club it is, guys?
I saw an opportunity.
He saw an opportunity. And when he was, 19 years old? In the
18, 19 years old.
18, 19. So he had a little entrepreneur bone in his body, but it was a certain kind of business. And you tell us about it. It made me, I was belly laughing on this part in the book because I could see you going and saying, hey, I got a deal for you. We'll do this. It kind of backfired. Can you tell us about that part of the book?
Well, I still remember the guy's name, Harry Sanuski. He was from New Jersey. He came to me and Joe Nuccio and said he knew these guys and we can get free woman wherever we want if we refer people. I said, free woman. I get free woman anyway.
There you go.
Okay.
You're like, I don't need that. It just show me the money.
We're in Hawaii here, man. And Waikiki was my spot. And I said, no, we got to make money from this. And I started calling the guy and finally made an appointment. I had to borrow somebody's car on a Saturday. I remember they had the house was in Iowa. And I drove there and he had the girls on the porch trying to lure me into the house. I said, no, I haven't come out. He came out, we drove around and ended up in a sugar cane field where he proceeded to put a gun to my head, in my mouth. But he didn't fire.
Yeah. And you knew at that time. The thing is, he thought you were infringing on his business and trying. And you were.
I was extorting him.
Yeah.
But he was not the owner of the business.
Yeah.
The big guys were out of Waikiki, Kelley, not Kona.
Waikiki.
Diamond Head area.
Diamond Head area,
Yeah,
like Honolulu.
they had homes.
Yeah.
Big prostitution homes, cat houses, whatever you want to call them.
Meow.
Okay, they owned several on the island. I was dealing with some sort of organization. It was not an Italian organization.
Okay. That was a learning lesson for you.
Well, it was a learning lesson because I was still going to proceed. If I still had the backup of Harry and Joe, I would have taken the meeting in Waikiki. But these guys, when they found out the gun and all that there, they got scared and they pulled right out. Now I'm by myself. And here I am. I'm in the barracks, the Schofield barracks. And these guys are calling me every night. They're calling me. When am I
Yeah,
gonna come?
that's right.
Yeah.
They wanted to meet with Ori again.
They want to meet with
to
me.
solidify this deal that Ori had planned out, which would have been lucrative for both of you. But since the gun was introduced and they put it in your mouth and you told your friends said, that's bad news bears. I'm not doing it. So then you had to, what they kept calling you and you had the sergeant or your tell them that you got stationed somewhere else.
Command, what do we call it? Charter quarter, CQ. All right, so fine one night I just said, I had any phone call say I was transferred to Vietnam. And
so then that ended. That ended. But that was, I guess my point to bringing this up was that was kind of like you weren't afraid to do that. And you had an idea and you went with it. And so that was at a very young age, like 18, 19 years old. So then the other things that you ended up getting into, which was becoming the boss to Hollywood, from insurance salesman to the Hollywood fixer. What is your definition of a fixer?
A fixer is somebody that takes care of problems, takes care of them quietly with, no problems, and makes everybody involved in the situation happy. You can't settle a problem unless both parts are happy. And
so how did you fix it?
I got a good ability to talk, which helps. I have a very good understanding of people.
Yeah.
And, selling is 98% understanding human beings.
Yeah.
2% product knowledge.
Right.
And I never forgot that.
Yeah.
And that's in anything you do in life. If you want something, you got to understand people.
Yeah.
Or you're dealing with people.
So can you give us an example? And there are several in the book. One example of how you fixed something.
Oh, there's one situation in the book. I don't mention the real actor's name. I got him $2 million that one of the biggest agencies at the time, ICM, was holding, would not release because the producers of the movie did not want to release. They didn't feel the actor fulfilled his end of the job. And the actor came to me at his home out in Brentwood or wherever it was. And I met with the producers at the Four Seasons Hotel, and I handled the situation where they won, he won, the money got released. However, something came up. I never got paid for it. And I never got paid because he never knew who I was affiliated with in New York. And there was one guy he was deathly afraid of, this particular actor, and that was Sonny Franchese.
Mm.
And Sonny's son was in my car one day, and he said, hey, let's call this guy. He called him, and he said, Ori, Ori and my friend, my father are really good friends. And thank God I didn't do anything, because he became an informant against some of the friends in New York.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you could figure out who it was.
We can figure that out. You got to read the book to get all of the information. But now,
Trust me, tough guys are not always tough guys.
Right. But you had really built up your insurance business, like big time.
Yeah.
And you had gotten to the place where it was like going to be everywhere. And you had all of these people involved, and then something happened and the tables were turned against you with your partner. It wasn't a partner.
He wasn't a partner. I'll give you his name. His name was Jim Generelli. Jim was out of Syracuse, New York. He was actually a bodyguard for a lot of people. He was very good in the insurance business. The most money he ever made in his life was $36,000 a year. And going back then, that was a lot of money.
Oh, okay.
Okay, going back to, late 60s, early 70s, that was a lot of money. But with me, he was making $100,000 a year, and I gave him a brand new Lincoln every year to drive. I brought him to Las Vegas. I introduced him. I showed him the ropes in Las Vegas. In those days, if I says, give Debbie $5,000 line of credit, you got it. And I got him lines of credit at different hotels. And my accountant, my brother, and the president of the insurance company were the only people who knew about the deal I had with the insurance company. And while I was out here in California with Dino De Laurentiis and Ralph Serpi, he went out with my accountant. They got drunk with their girlfriends. And my accountant felt that because this guy was with me all the time that he knew. And he told him that I had to deal with the insurance company. He called the insurance company and tried to get my insurance agency.
Right.
And it didn't work. It was a day that the atom bomb fell on my head. I flew back. My wife, my mother, my kids were in my condo in Florida. My wife picked me up at the airport in my Eldorado. And on the way back, I asked her for a divorce. I said, we got all these homes, we got all this money coming in, we got these businesses. I was doing well. It was worth a lot of money. And we got to the condo. She went in the bedroom. She was crying. I'm looking out the patio. I see my mother on the beach with my kids. And then the phone rings, and it was my accountant. Says, Dick Leamy's coming in. He said he's closing this up. But
Closing up your whole...
I said, what?
Everything you built.
I said, what? But he wants to talk to you. He's at the airport, LaGuardia Airport, at LaGuardia. I called him. I said, what time are you talking about? And he tells me what happened. He said, can you get the money? I said, I think I could. It's like $385,000 I needed. And I called my banker and Frank Russo, my lawyer, got on another plane, flew back to New York, had a meeting with him till 4 a.m. in the morning in my office. And at that time, I already owed the bank a lot of money. It was a small bank, a $55 million bank, so they could only loan out per individual $1 million. I was already at that million. And there was a recession going on too. Things were tough. And I looked at Frank. I said, "What's worse could happen?" He said, "You go to prison." I said, "You're going to represent me?" He said, "Ori, I'm too old to represent you. I recommend Louis Brindisi. He's in my book." And you got to read that part of the story, folks. And you remember that part?
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. So, you know, that's what happened. So I ended up losing my insurance agency. Generally didn't get it. I got a TO to Roy Schneiderman in Buffalo. And I got 5 years probation and lost my insurance license. So I had to make a living.
Yeah, you did. And you did.
You know, no matter what I got to do in this world.
That's right.
I'm going to make a living.
Yeah. And then that's when it just kind of upped the gangster vibe after the insurance was taken from you.
Well, you know, with my looks and my demeanor and everything and my voice, everybody thought I was a gangster anyway. So, you know, just use it to work for you.
That's right.
You know, take what attributes you have and put them to work, whether they're good or bad or indifferent.
Right. Well, I'm going to back up a little bit because there's another part in the book that I extremely enjoyed, which was because it's showing how you can be so resourceful. You and your wife, you'd gotten married. You were down to like nothing in your pocket, and you end up going to Vegas, and it was you and Rosemary?
In Reno.
And you ended up, because you were established in all the different casinos.
No, I was not established in Reno.
You were in Vegas.
What happened was
tell me the story.
My friend Pat Casanova, well, you read that letter to Rosemary,
yes.
Right? Okay, so
Rosemary's the second wife.
Yeah, so I'm sure you could figure out what I was saying in there.
Yeah.
You really have to read between the lines. And I got rid of her out of New York. She was living with me in Queens. And she was out here. And then I was doing a thing for Polyglyco, and I had to talk to the distributors throughout the country. And I ended up at a Friday in San Francisco, where she's from. So me, her, and Pat and his girlfriend, we got together on Saturday. We went to Napa. We were drinking wine. They had their marijuana. And then Pat said, "Come on, you guys love each other. Once you get married, we'll drive to Reno." I said, "I don't care."
Okay.
And we did. We drove to Reno. We got there like 4 o'clock in the morning. Pat's on one side of the street. I'm on the other. I swear to God. Going to every little wedding chapel. And the Pat says, "I got a guy here. He'll do it for $35." I said, "Let's do it."
Let's do it.
Within a couple of minutes, boom, boom, boom. We're married. Now we can have a honeymoon.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much money we had left. Maybe $50.
What year was this? 70
something.
70 something. It was in the 70s. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to get relative, like $50 in the 70s. You know, it's still not that much, but
it was nothing.
It was nothing, he said. It was nothing.
So I spotted this casino. I said, "Stay out here for a few minutes." I went in, boom, 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 boom. I won $5,000. I was a hit and run player.
You were hitting a run.
I'm still am. If I go to Vegas, I'm a hit and run player.
Hit and run.
Okay. Take your winnings, get the freak out of there.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not going to break the bank over there. If you think you are, then you're going to lose everything. And I brought it to $5,000, and we got a suite at the hotel, had a party, and
you had a honeymoon.
And had a honeymoon.
That's what you make me smile because, you know, you just are who you are. You say it like it is. This book is like so real and raw. In some parts, I was even like, oh, that's really descriptive, you know? And so I enjoy that. But also the fact showing that, you know, you're resourceful. You'll figure it out. You're a figure outer and you're a fixer.
Oh, you see that over there?
Yeah.
Yeah. when Rhoda sculpted that, he was thinking of me.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I love that. So, okay, so you're married to Rosemary. Is Rosemary? This is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's I'm gonna figure it out, and then I'm gonna execute it. But the other part of this is, was Rosemary the love of your life? Who was the love of your life?
So
You had a lot of there were a lot of women in and out of your life.
my first wife.
Oh, that's
She was the love of my life. She's the mother of my children.
mhm.
And for that there, I got to love her. She got to be the love of my life.
Okay. So when it comes to love and respect,
Love and
It's
respect.
Antoinette.
It's Antoinette.
Antoinette. Okay.
But then again, I had a lot of love and respect for Rosemary. Maybe more respect after we broke up than I had while we were married.
Okay.
Okay. It was a very lustful affair.
Yeah.
Very lustful. But she was a good woman too, different than Antoinette. Antoinette she was a woman that would have always been there for me, no matter what.
That's loyalty to its core.
Yeah.
And you have to appreciate that
Yeah,
for sure.
she's a true Sicilian and the mother of my children, and I can't ask. I'm a blessed man because I married her, because she's the mother of my children, and for the way my children are. We never said a bad thing about each other to the children.
Mhm.
And she's a remarkable woman. What more can I say? She's a very remarkable woman.
Yeah.
And, if I made any mistakes, but, I'm the type of guy that can never be married.
Yeah.
It's just not within me. It's not my blood. I like waking up in the morning and there's nobody in my bed. And, a lot of ladies ask me, what kind of lady are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for a lady to like to go have dinner once a week, come over, we cuddle, and then she goes home. I'm just set in my ways,
Mhm.
and, that's the way it is.
Well,
I
and you're
can't change
honest
it.
about it, so
And
that they know.
I'm honest about it.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
That's good. I was just curious as to who you would say was the love of your life. But yeah, you have such appreciation for both of your ex-wives. But I would like to, because I know we have about 10 more minutes. There's so much in the book. You guys, like, this is a page turner and it's a lot. Like it's a lot. So we've left out so much that we could never cover in an hour show or what. But what I would love for you to talk about is the point in time in your life, right, in 2008, when all of a sudden everything started to crumble down and you knew they were coming for you, and how that affected your family.
well, it was June of 2008. I knew it was going to come. I was sitting in my chair. It was like 5:45 in the morning. I lived over on Swall Drive, a few blocks from here. At that hour of the morning, you could hear a pin drop. And I was sitting there with my coffee, my dog Maggie, and I heard car doors opening and shutting, opening and shutting, opening and shutting. And I had my patios, and I knew it was them. I just knew it. I had a choice. I could have gone through my kitchen, out the back door, upstairs, and gone up to see my friend Andy and hid out in his apartment. But I didn't. And then, boom, crashing in my door. I went to the door, I had a cigarette in hand, they knocked it out. Put the cuffs on me. My son woke up. And this is going to be all in the script, folks, in the movie. and the script was just changed last week. So if you want to know what happened, you're going to have to read the book, and you're going to have to go to the movies to see what happened, folks, how it happened, because it's all accurate. All accurate.
Oh, and that was part of the stipulation too. You don't want a movie being produced that's not correct. You want it to be the way it actually happened. Just like a book he was reading when we got here. It's not accurate.
Right.
And you know it isn't. He's
I know-
mentioned
I
in
know
another
it
book.
is, and everybody else knows it's bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But no, so, but coming from, and yes, I absolutely have to read the book, but like, I want you to explain how you know, it was more about, you were affected more by the way it affected your children than it did for you, even having to go to prison.
I was affected more.
Your kids, it upset you that they were trying to bring Anthony down, right?
Yes.
That's his son. And you knew you were going to prison, but you wanted them, they weren't involved, and they needed to be out of the picture.
Yeah, and they kept trying to bring Anthony's name into it because of a robbery that took place in Burbank, and Anthony had nothing to do with it. It was all me. Only because Anthony had to give them directions and show them where the place was. They tried to bring him in.
Yeah.
And his name kept appearing. And I couldn't discuss that on the telephones with Anthony.
Because they were being monitored.
Because they're monitored. And so I was fighting through motions and so forth. And finally the judge told the U.S. attorney, Anthony Spado has nothing to do with this, take his name off. And we finally got Anthony's name wiped out of there.
Thank goodness.
But, and I did that from prison. Yeah.
How long were you in prison?
5 years.
And where did you do your time?
I did 30 months in MDC, Brooklyn.
Okay.
Okay. Once I was sentenced, I did my remaining time at Lompoc up in Northern California.
Okay. What were the actual offenses that you were doing time for? I
actually ended up doing 5 years on what they call a minimum mandatory 924C gun charge.
Okay.
One of the informants who lied said he saw me to give the gun to the other person. I could say it now, and I'll say this in public. He didn't see me to get the gun. He was on the patio smoking a joint.
Wow.
When I took the other individual into my bedroom, and did I give him a real gun or a fake gun? Nobody knows.
Okay. Is everything in the book, or are there still things you haven't disclosed?
There's a lot of things I have not disclosed and that I will not. I don't feel any reason to say negative things about other individuals.
There's a lot in this book.
There's a lot more, and you will be hearing some stories from me and other people, because I'm thinking of putting together. It's going to be a show like a Johnny Carson show, and I'll have a sidekick.
I'm available.
Huh?
I'm available.
Yeah.
I'm available to be your sidekick on your show.
We're going to be filming it at a studio here in Los Angeles. Once a week, stories with Ori.
Ori stories.
There's a lot of things that people read and they think it's the gospel, particularly when they read things from the so-called mob historians.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look, mob historians are good. They got a job. That's their job. That's what they do. But, they go to the library, get a newspaper article, and they go to the courts and get court documents. Well, look, wise guys are not giving the truth on the freaking court documents, and it's bullshit of what's in the newspaper. Okay? So
makes sense.
We'll be talking about
real stuff.
Real stuff with men who were in the room. And
men who were in the room, real stuff on your upcoming show.
There are only about 4 of us left on this earth in the United States today.
Wow.
Who could talk about certain things. What's the truth about how Buggy Seal got killed?
Yeah.
All right. What's the truth
Mhm.
about the Kennedy assassination? Who was there? Who was the grassy knoll?
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Is that for another show? That's for Ori's show, The
that's
Truth.
for Ori show.
The Ori
And plus
show,
other
not Debbie's
things.
show.
The rise of Carlo Gambino. All right. The last real boss of the bosses.
Oh.
Jerry Katina. None of you ever heard of Jerry Katina.
No, I'm not like,
All right.
I have several friends that are going to love this show
Yeah.
because they love everything that is about
Well,
the
Jerry
mob,
Katina is not
mafia.
even in my book, but let me tell you, Jerry Katina.
Okay.
You cannot go to Las Vegas or any casino anywhere in this country, all right, where Jerry Katina was not getting a piece of that action
Ooh, okay.
from
He's
those
getting-
slot machines,
Oh, what? Okay.
from ballets.
Cha-ching. Okay, gotcha. Well, I will 100% tune in to your show. If I'm not the sidekick, I guess I just have to watch it when you start Ori
You live in
Stories.
Ohio.
That doesn't matter. I'm mobile. I'm here right now.
Yeah, well, let's see.
We'll see then, right? I can go wherever. So, the show's called Find It, and it means we all find something in our lives. And I want you to share with your final words something that you have found in life that you can share with us that'll inspire us to find it too.
Upon my release from prison in 2013 at the age of 68 years old, I made a promise to my children that I would get out of the life and not go back to prison. I kept that promise.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a promise to myself that I would try to do what I can do to make this world a better place and try to talk to as many young men and ladies as I can to keep them out of a life of crime, mentor some of them into building businesses, becoming an entrepreneur, and I've succeeded in that there. And, in my book, I say if I could keep one young man out of a life of crime, I was successful. I kept several.
Nice.
I saved one person's life too, a young man that wanted to commit suicide. And I talked him out of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so these are the kind of things. And as I said, it was my life, my destiny, but it's what brought me to here in the final stages of my life to be able to help make this world a better place.
Wow.
And if you read my book, in the epilogue, I ask for everybody reach out, hold hands, and together we can make this world a better place.
Okay, we'll reach out and hold hands. Awesome, awesome. With that, I'm not saying another thing. I say thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Ori, for being so candid and real and making an impact on this world. And we'll see you very soon next Wednesday at 8 p.m. And we'll have our outro now, Len. Thanks.